Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Get ready because today we are diving right back into the incredible world of Circle of Inevitability. If you're enjoying these audiobook adventures, make sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. Grab a snack, settle in, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into it.
Chapter 171, Rapid Idea. With a resounding thud, the lifeless body crashed to the floor, sending a shock wave through the hearts of Baron Brenier, Louis, and their comrades. Baron Brenier rose to his feet and beheld the corpse lying at Lumian's feet. He took in the tangle of abundant, disheveled brown hair, the lengthy limbs, and the imposing, robust physique. It was none other than Hammer 8. Louis's eyes widened in disbelief at the realization that the treacherous member of the Savoie mob lay dead on the cafe floor. The Baron had entrusted the task to Ciel right after dinner, and the hour had not even struck 10. What's more, Ciel had managed to accomplish the mission before they could deliver the comprehensive intelligence and weaponry that would have enhanced his chances of success. Moreover, Hammer 8 was a true beyonder, surpassing even Wilson from before in strength. He wasn't as vulnerable as Margot, always surrounded by a retinue of followers. Yet, he had failed to survive 3 hours after the Baron had issued the assignment. Was this any different from purchasing a pig at Le Marché du Quartier du Gentleman and slaughtering it? Even if the Baron had taken personal action, it wouldn't have been that effortless or straightforward. It could have even ended in failure. Louis's gaze shifted from the lifeless body to Ciel's countenance, as if only now did he truly perceive the true nature of this rural novice. It was somewhat understandable that Margot had fallen prey to him due to carelessness and the poisoned slash. Wilson's defeat could be explained away by his own feebleness and entrapment within the room. However, Hammer 8 was a beyonder whose combat prowess was not significantly inferior to the Baron's, and he had always been on high alert against potential assassinations by the Savoie mob. He wouldn't have been careless. Yet, Ciel had managed to dispatch such a formidable adversary within a matter of hours. Just how formidable was he? What were his limits? In comparison to the Baron, who was the stronger one, a cascade of questions raced through Louis's mind, and his gaze at Lumian now held a tinge of fear. The other thugs shared the same unease. Baron Brenier's gaze constantly shifted between Hammer 8's lifeless form and Lumian's visage, as if searching for any trace of deceit. Had Lumian Lee effortlessly completed a mission that the Baron himself would have considered challenging? If Hammer 8 was so easily dispatched, why had the Savoie mob, who had long sought to punish the traitor, allowed him to live until now?
This guy is even more terrifying than I had suspected. In terms of strength, intelligence, execution, and seizing opportunities, he is no less capable than I am. He must be concealing some secrets. There's more to him than meets the eye.
Baron Brenier barely contained the turmoil within his heart and reclaimed the clarity, rationality, and intelligence he typically boasted. Just as he was about to bestow his usual smile and commendation upon Lumian Lee, signifying his intent to inform his superiors of Lumian's contributions to the Savoie mob, a sudden realization dawned upon him. Baron Brenier's expression turned to stone as he locked eyes with Lumian.
Does anyone else know that you've taken down Hammer 8?
Lumian replied candidly.
Quite a few.
Baron Brenier's countenance underwent a dramatic shift, losing its refined and confident air. In that moment, all he wanted was to unleash a torrent of curses upon Lumian.
Is your fucking brain filled with shit? So many people are aware of your involvement in Hammer 8's demise, and yet you boldly bring his lifeless body to Salle de Balbrise, right in front of me? Do you think that these individuals won't inform Black Scorpion Roger? Do you believe he won't storm into Salle de Balbrise, seeking revenge? Do you think I can fend off Black Scorpion Roger? Damn it, you're leading me to my own demise. You better find a bloody corner to hide in at Underground Trier.
Seizing the opportunity presented by Baron Brenier's subdued breathing and silence, Lumian smiled nonchalantly and said,
Hammer 8's subordinates must have found Black Scorpion Roger by now. Only you, Baron, can offer me sufficient protection. Baron, weren't you anticipating retaliation from the Poison Spur mob? That's why you sent me to hunt down one of the trio, Hammer, Baldy, or Short-Legged Candlestick?
Bitterness filled Baron Brenier's mouth at Lumian's question. For a brief moment, he couldn't bring himself to order Lumian to leave. He had made 2 plans in preparation for the potential revenge from the Poison Spur mob. He was confident that he would remain unscathed. Wouldn't it be a fortuitous outcome if Giant Simon and Rat Christo met their end? But the predicament lay in the fact that he hadn't had enough time to implement any of his plans or set them into motion. His intention was to dispatch the intelligence and weaponry to Auberge du Coq Doré tomorrow morning, and only then would he decide on the course of action. Nonetheless, eliminating any leader of the Poison Spur mob was no easy feat. It would likely require days of meticulous effort before he could even set foot inside their domain. Yet Lumian Lee, that madman, had sought out Hammer 8 without delay upon accepting the mission. He wasted no time, conducted no reconnaissance, made no arrangements, and didn't wait for the opportune moment to arise. What further infuriated the Baron was that the fellow had actually succeeded. In a matter of hours, he had slain Hammer 8 and dragged the lifeless body to Salle de Balbrise.
FCK, is he even human?
This caught him off guard. If Black Scorpion Roger were to strike, he might meet his demise alongside Hammer 8. Observing Baron Brenier's silence and darkened expression, Lumian inwardly chuckled. He had brought Hammer 8's body to Salle de Balbrise and presented it to Baron Brenier not to boast or intimidate the gang leader and his henchmen. His intention was to draw Black Scorpion Roger and the other formidable members of the Poison Spur mob to them. If Baron Brenier were to fall, a new opportunity would arise. A replacement with sufficient strength would be required. When the time came, CL, who could fight, contribute, and had aided Red Boots' lover, would undoubtedly be the most sought-after candidate. Lumian wasn't overly concerned about whether Black Scorpion Roger would kill him. Mr. K's finger was in his pocket.
Mr. K probably wouldn't mind if I repurposed the finger. After all, I'm doing it to fulfill his mission.
Lumian thought casually, regardless, the threat from Susanna Matisse wouldn't come anytime soon. He could figure out an alternative approach later. Perhaps Mr. K would reward him with another finger once he saw how well and swiftly Lumian completed the mission. Baron Brenier's expression underwent several changes. He pushed his chair back abruptly and hurried toward an iron-colored mechanical safe at the cafe bar counter. He turned the knob and entered the password. Lumian watched with a raised eyebrow, puzzled. What was Baron Brenier planning to retrieve? Was he intending to take the cash and flee? Or did he possess sealed artifacts that he dared not carry with him, fearing their potent negative effects, and had stowed them away in the safe? Soon enough, Baron Brenier opened the safe and retrieved 2 bundles of detonators, commonly used in quarries.
Setting a trap to explode Black Scorpion Roger? That's quite challenging. He's a heretic spellmaster.
Lumian refrained from inquiring as he observed Baron Brenier walk toward the wall near Avenue du Marché and push open 2 glass windows. The leader of the Savoie mob placed the bundles of detonators on the windowsill, then lit a match. Subsequently, he ignited one of the bundles and glanced at the dimly lit Avenue du Marché. Raising his hand, he tossed the explosives into the middle of the road. Louis and the other mobsters stood in bewilderment, unable to comprehend the Baron's intentions. Lumian's thoughts raced, and he instantly grasped the plan. He couldn't help but inwardly applaud.
Very clever.
Boom! The bundle of detonators exploded in the middle of Avenue du Marché, causing the surrounding glass to rattle. The few pedestrians on the roadside were startled and fell to the ground, sustaining minor injuries. Some screamed, covering their ears, and frantically sought shelter in nearby locations. Baron Brenier glanced over, lit another bundle of detonators, and hurled it into the deserted road. Causing casualties would be troublesome aftermath. He didn't wish to attract unwanted attention from authorities. Boom! The explosion reverberated once more. The police headquarters on Avenue du Marché, the Eternal Blazing Sun Cathedral, and the God of Steam and Machinery Cathedral responded to a certain extent. Salle de Balbrise and the occupants of nearby buildings were thrown into disarray, but they dared not venture outside. Baron Brenier clapped his hands and returned to the wooden table. He pulled a chair over and sat down, Resuming his usual demeanor, he smiled at Lumian.
It's all right now.
This would surely unsettle the police and the clergyman. Some would undoubtedly investigate the cause. It was highly probable that official beyonders would be among them. Officers who maintained good relations with the Savoie mob would inevitably inquire. Under such circumstances, how could Black Scorpion Roger dare to launch an attack? They couldn't risk assuming that no official beyonders would care about the explosion. After all, if they lost that bet, they would be doomed. Lumian hadn't expected Baron Brignier to find a way to elude Black Scorpion Roger's assault in such a short span of time. And he had accomplished it using only the resources at hand. This had momentarily foiled his plan.
True to the reputation of the Savoie mob's brain, Baron Brignier displays remarkable responsiveness and quick thinking, surpassing even Margot, Hammer 8, and the others in critical moments.
Lumian clicked his tongue in acknowledgement, paying no mind to Hammer's lifeless body on the ground. Taking a seat across from Baron Brignier, he flashed a smile.
I made the wise choice to seek refuge here.
Baron Brignier nearly choked, his saliva catching in his throat. Had it not been for his exceptional intellect, he might have been ensnared and faced a grave fate. Exhaling slowly, Baron Brignier cast a glance at the motionless corpse and addressed Louis and the rest.
Drag it into a private room and conceal it carefully. The authorities will likely come knocking soon.
Chapter 172, Superintendent. After concealing the body, Baron Brignier nonchalantly addressed Lumian, his curiosity piqued.
I must say I'm quite intrigued. How did you manage to eliminate Hammer 8?
Lumian didn't hold back, revealing everything. He retrieved an empty metal canister and placed it on the table before him.
What's this?
Baron Brignier examined it carefully for a few moments.
Remember when I ventured underground earlier today?
Lumian grinned.
I encountered a deviant individual and, quite accidentally, dispatched him. He happened to possess this gaseous sedative and its corresponding antidote. After infiltrating Hammer 8's washroom, I consumed the antidote and patiently awaited his arrival. When he entered, I unscrewed the sedative and engaged him in close combat. I restrained him, preventing his escape until the sedative took effect.
Baron Brignier pondered for a brief moment, confirming the plausibility of this plan. Satisfied, he nodded and remarked,
The washroom is rather confined, and the gaseous sedative will quickly permeate the space. Moreover, there's no ventilation to speak of. Considering Hammer 8's cautious nature and his guard against our Savoie mob, he wouldn't offer an easy opportunity for infiltration. The gunmen stationed outside wouldn't dare to open fire lest they accidentally eliminate Hammer 8. They might even struggle to unlock the restroom door.
Baron Brignier spoke with such conviction that it seemed he had witnessed the scene firsthand. Louis and the others silently acknowledged the validity of this analysis. Having understood the intricacies, they realized that Ciel's ability to dispatch Hammer within such a short span of time wasn't as implausible as they had initially thought. Ciel had indeed discovered a path to success and skillfully utilized the resources at his disposal. Under this plan, as long as his combat prowess didn't significantly pale in comparison to Hammer 8's, he had a considerable chance of dealing with the traitor. Naturally, achieving success necessitated strength, a stroke of luck, decisiveness, audacity, and adeptness in gathering intelligence. Ciel's terror was undeniable, yet it wasn't as horrifying as they had envisioned. Baron Brignier further commended Lumian's sagacity, albeit slightly displeased that he had transported Hammer 8's lifeless body to Salle de Bal Brise after accomplishing the deed. It had nearly brought calamity upon him. Nevertheless, Baron Brignier harbored no intention of reprimanding him. Upon reflection, he realized that the fault lay primarily with himself.
It seems I habitually exude an excessive air of confidence and intellect, as if nothing can perplex me. No wonder he assumes that I can provide ample protection and remain unafraid of Black Scorpion, Roger. I even proposed this operation. It's only natural for him to believe that I've already made all necessary preparations.
As they conversed, time slipped away. Before long, A guard from the Savoy mob stationed at the entrance on the first floor ascended and approached Baron Brignier, conveying a message.
Baron, Superintendent Everett has arrived.
Please, bring him up.
Baron Brignier stood and made his way toward the staircase. Travis Everett served as the superintendent at the police headquarters of Le Marché du Quartier du Gentleman. He held one of the highest positions when it came to carrying out tasks. Above him stood a few deputy directors with the rank of chief superintendent, and overseeing everything was the police commissioner of the district. Baron Brignier enjoyed conversing with Everett. Emperor Roselle's words described him as the epitome of a Mr. Nice Guy. He preferred not to delve into the truth, simply hoping for harmonious interactions and a lack of trouble. He possessed a remarkable ability to resolve conflicts between the mobs in the market district. 10 seconds later, the officer led his two subordinates into the cafe on the second floor. Travis Everett appeared to be around 30 years old and stood nearly 1.75 meters tall. His black hair was cropped short, and he wore glasses with relatively large black frames that framed his blue eyes. His chin was slightly broad. Dressed in a black police uniform, his epaulets showcased 5-petaled irises in silver white against the black background. This indicated his rank as a superintendent. If there were 7 petals, he would hold the rank of chief superintendent, and above that, an off-white diamond square. Travis Everett looked at the smiling Baron Brignier and asked with a stern expression,
"What just happened? Please don't tell me there was an explosion at the entrance of Saint-Debal Breeze, and you have no idea who did it."
Monsieur Superintendent, please have a seat.
Baron Brignier guided Travis Everett to a wooden table and personally pulled out a chair for him. Lumian, disguising himself as one of the thugs alongside Louis and the others, stood behind Baron Brignier, avoiding direct confrontation with the officers to prevent recognition as a wanted criminal. Baron Brignier picked up his mahogany pipe and gazed at Travis Everett across from him. With a grave expression, he spoke.
Hammer 8 is dead. I was concerned that Black Scorpion, Roger, would go into a frenzy, so I detonated the explosives and drew everyone's attention. Rest assured, Monsieur Superintendent, I carefully chose the location of the blast. I didn't harm or seriously injure anyone.
Travis Everett raised his right hand, adjusted his black-framed glasses, and pointed at Baron Brignier.
Can you all refrain from causing so much trouble? The parliamentary election is taking place next week. Do you want us to embarrass ourselves in front of our future superior? I don't care about your intentions, nor do I wish to know your motives. All I desire is a peaceful market district.
If something similar occurs again, I will propose to Monsieur Immerk that Bureau 8 and the 2 churches form a joint investigative team to handle your Savoy mob.
Immerk served as one of Trier's police commissioners, overseeing Le Marché du Quartier du Gentleman. Travis Everett did not mention the death of Hammer 8 directly, but he employed it as a warning to Baron Brignier. Baron Brignier responded with a smile.
Monsieur Superintendent, fear not. For the next 2 weeks, we shall strictly adhere to the law. I am merely concerned about the poison spur mob.
Travis Everett nodded and let out a sigh.
Emperor Roselle proclaimed that peace brings prosperity. If you do encounter any disputes, you can seek me out for a tribunal.
He then turned to the 2 lower-ranking officers beside him and said,
Let us return now and find someone to keep a close watch on the leaders of the poison spur mob. We must ensure they behave.
The superintendent rose from his seat and extended his arms.
Praise the sun! Praise the sun!
Baron Brignier also stood up, echoing the sentiment. As Travis Everett and his companions descended the stairs, Lumian muttered quietly to himself.
Do people in positions of power always enjoy quoting Emperor Roselle? We lower-class individuals are different. We curse and use crude language as needed. The sense of a sentence doesn't depend on who utters it.
Nearly half an hour later, Baron Brignier turned to Lumian and spoke.
Black Scorpion, Roger, and the others should be under surveillance. There is no immediate danger. You may return to Auberge du Coq d'Auvet to rest now. Come here at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. I will take you to meet the boss.
All right.
Lumian replied with a smile.
Thank you, Baron.
He then inquired,
According to the rules, since I was the one who killed Hammer 8, all his belongings belong to me, correct?
That is correct.
Baron Brignier confirmed, displaying a generous nature when it came to such matters. He motioned for Louis to bring over the black revolver, bullet bag, bayonet, and stack of intelligence.
These are yours as well.
Lumian fastened the holster under his left armpit and stowed away the other items before entering the room where Hammer 8's lifeless body lay. Ensuring no one was tailing him, he squatted down and unbuttoned the corpse's shirt. There, he discovered a golden-red ball resembling the morning clouds and sunset with a faint flickering light dancing within. This was a pugilist beyond her characteristic. Lumian happily pocketed it and proceeded to search Hammer 8's pockets. He found 116 Veril d'Or and 17 Coppet notes and coins, along with a pair of boxing gloves made of steel-like material, adorned with several sharp spikes. For Lumian, this bounty far exceeded the satisfaction of hunting Margot. On his way back to Auberge du Coq Doré, only sporadic gas street lamps illuminated the path. Lumian weaved through the intersecting shadows, sensing pairs of eyes fixated on him.
Is Black Scorpion Roger commanding the deceased or using other Beyonder abilities to keep tabs on me? Or am I simply being overly vigilant and imagining things?
Lumian muttered, raising his right hand to massage his temples. He activated his spirit vision but found nothing amiss. The unsettling feeling of being watched gradually faded away. In the 3-story building with a garden at 126 Avenue du Marché, the imposing Black Scorpion Roger, with his piercing deep blue eyes, and the charming Baldy Harmon walked back through the door. The 10 members of the Poison Spur mob, who had been waiting anxiously, felt the air grow tense and their fear heightened. None of them dared to utter a word, as if they were facing an impending storm. After a tense silence that lasted for more than 10 seconds, Baldy Harmon gritted his teeth and spoke up.
That CL doesn't take us seriously. The Savoy mob has been provoking us repeatedly. They must pay the price.
Black Scorpion, Roger shared Harmon's sentiment, feeling equally provoked by CL. He spoke in a low, commanding voice.
We cannot let this matter go unaddressed.
Phew. Roger exhaled heavily and motioned for the other members of the Poison Spur mob to leave. Only Harmon remained, and Roger continued.
But we are being targeted by the police. It is highly likely that official Beyonders will be involved. We cannot seek revenge for the time being. Brignier is no ordinary opponent. He is cunning and intelligent. When Monsieur Artois is elected to Parliament, Madame Moon will grant us a new boon. At that time, I will extract Brignier's brain and feed it to the stray dogs. However, we cannot remain idle. When the surveillance on us becomes less vigilant, I will seize the opportunity to assassinate CL. If the Savoy mob can assassinate our men, then we can do the same to theirs.
At Auberge du Coq Doré, Lumian had just reached room 207 when he sensed something. He turned his head and directed his gaze towards the nearby balcony.
Come out,
he said with a resigned sigh.
Madame Jenna.
Chapter 173. Intelligence on the Boss. With her hair tied up in a simple bun, showy diva emerged from the shadows of the balcony, her eyes adorned with dark shadows and a mole positioned neatly on her nose. Curiosity evident in her voice, she asked,
How did you discover me? How did you know it was me?
Being an assassin, she had mastered the art of utilizing darkness and shadows to conceal her presence. Until now, no one had ever detected her in her previous encounters, making this the first time she had been discovered. Lumian scoffed in response.
Next time you plan on assassinating someone, remember not to wear perfume.
After reminding Jenna, he jokingly pointed towards the door of room 207 and said,
I thought you would enter the room yourself, but instead, you waited so politely on the balcony. It's unlike you.
Damn it, I've always been polite.
Jenna retorted, feeling a hint of anger at the accusation. After a brief pause, she muttered,
You're cold, sinister, cunning, and devious. You might have set a trap in the room, waiting for someone to walk into it.
While speaking, Jenna glanced at Lumian and indignantly said,
I understand how you guessed that I'm an assassin. First, you connected the dots from the perfect infiltration route I provided. Then you deliberately probed me. FCK. If I had been calmer, you would have said, haha, I'm joking.
Madame Jenna, your reflex arc is a little long.
Lumian laughed.
What, madame or miss? You're not one to be polite either. Just call me Jenna.
She controlled her urge to curse and curiously asked,
What's a reflex arc?
She had a feeling it wasn't something favorable, but she couldn't quite grasp its meaning.
Miss, did you complete your compulsory education?
Lumian criticized. As he opened the door, he casually explained,
For instance, you, Franca, Baron Brignier, and Hammer 8 hear me telling a joke simultaneously. Franca and Baron Brignier burst into laughter instantly, but it takes you a whole day to find me and say, haha, how funny.
Damn it, you bastard.
Jenna finally realized she had been mocked. Following Lumian into room 207, she asked in confusion,
What about Hammer 8? Why isn't he laughing?
Lumian turned his head and solemnly glanced at her.
Dead people don't laugh.
Jenna was momentarily taken aback before she burst into laughter, her body swaying slightly.
You truly have a sense of humor.
She intermittently expressed amidst her laughter. Lumian ignited the carbide lamp in the room and settled on the edge of the bed. He inquired,
What brings you to Auberge du Coq Doré?
I've come to retrieve my gun.
Jenna shut the door behind her and dragged over the old, worn armchair. Placing it in front of her, she sat down, resting her elbows on the backrest. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity she couldn't conceal.
So you managed to eliminate Hammer 8. You're even more formidable than I had imagined. But don't tell me how you did it just yet. Let me take a guess. You asked me about the size of the washroom. That means you intended to exploit the environment there. FCK. I've got it. You have that pervert sedative on hand. It's perfect for a place like the washroom. It's like trapping a pigeon. Damn it, I can imagine Hammer 8's desperate expression as he struggled, realizing his strength was dwindling. The thugs outside couldn't enter, and they didn't dare to shoot randomly.
The more Jenna spoke, the more animated she became, as if she were the one who had carried out the assassination of Hammer 8.
At least you have some wits about you.
Lumian begrudgingly acknowledged.
Huh.
Jenna waved her hand and peered at Lumian.
What I can't figure out is why you weren't affected by the sedative. Did you smell that bottle of shit beforehand? Can its effects last that long?
Lumian simply smiled.
I recall something you once said. Avoid seeing what I shouldn't, hearing what I shouldn't, and asking questions I shouldn't.
Jenna glared at Lumian in frustration and refrained from further probing. Lumian produced her compact revolver and tossed it to her. Jenna caught it deftly and let out a chuckle.
You didn't even dare to come up to me and return it in person?
She smacked her lips and clicked her tongue.
Is there something about me that frightens you?
In that moment, she felt as if she had returned to teasing Lumian when they first met. Lumian appraised her.
You're quite audacious to enter a male stranger's room dressed like this in the middle of the night.
Jenna was dressed as she typically would for her evening performances. Her white blouse revealed a generous amount of her chest, and her off-white fluffy short skirt didn't provide much coverage as her legs spread on either side of the backrest. Jenna deliberately covered her mouth and let out a soft chuckle.
I was defenseless down in the underground, yet you didn't make a move, let alone now. Do you still hold on to your virginity? Need some help? A mature and beautiful sister can show you the wonders of the adult world.
As she spoke, she intentionally lowered her body, revealing her cleavage to Lumian. Lumian didn't flinch and observed calmly. Who would be frightened by such a thing? Jenna's expectation of a fleeting gaze and a flushed expression from Lumian gradually transformed into discomfort. She sat up straight and muttered,
Lame. Coward.
In the next instant, Lumian stood up abruptly. Jenna's expression underwent a sudden change.
What are you planning to do?
Lumian's lips curled into a smirk as he turned toward the wooden table.
Just pouring some light beer, fancy a glass.
Auberge du Coq d'Oreille didn't offer the option of boiling water. The tenants either drank tap water or resorted to light beer as a substitute.
No thanks.
Jenna let out a relieved sigh. Lumian took a few swigs of light beer and redirected the conversation.
How can you be so certain that you're older than me?
I saw your wanted poster at Franca's. Well, hello there, Lumian. You're not even 18 yet, while I've already reached 21.
Jenna's satisfaction started to surface.
Is your mental age only 12?
Lumian taunted before inquiring.
How did you come to know the infiltration route to that room?
Franca had long harbored the desire to carry out an assassination against the poison spur mob. Jenna pursed her lips and replied,
I've been gathering intelligence for nearly a month, awaiting the perfect opportunity to assassinate Margot. But you beat me to it.
Margot had previously overseen the Sal de Gris mill.
Do you hold a grudge against Margot?
Lumian asked.
He didn't do anything to me.
Jenna lowered her gaze slightly.
When I first arrived in the market district searching for singing opportunities in various dance halls, I encountered another showy diva singer. She was a few years older than me and took me under her wing. She even helped refine my singing and guided me towards a chance to perform. Over a month ago, Margot violated her. Freaking damn it. Did he think all showy divas were open for his taking? Afterwards, she left the market district. I later heard she was committed to an asylum. That was when I pleaded with Franca to obtain beyond her powers and assist her.
Lumian fell silent for a few moments before speaking again.
You see, one mustn't hesitate. When I made up my mind to kill Margot that morning, I carried out the deed that very night.
Jenna found herself both enraged and entertained.
Well, everyone has their own style.
Lumian changed the subject.
Tomorrow morning, Baron Brenier will take me to meet the boss. Do you have any insights on what kind of person he is?
Jenna pondered for a moment before responding.
I've never met him personally, but I've heard Franca mention a few things. He resides in Quartier de la Cathédrale Commémorative. He's a bit of a pervert and has a fondness for women, but he's not twisted. His tastes are quite fucking normal, and every one of his partners matches Franca's preferences. He's a merchant by trade. He owns a depot near the steam locomotive station and holds significant shares in the nearby wrist docks. He also runs a freight company and a construction firm, providing employment opportunities for many Savoyards. You might not know this, but when the poison spur mob first gained power, they had a major conflict with the Savoy mob. All the laborers from the depot and the dock workers took to the streets. It was like a protest.
A considerable number of people. If armed, they could form an army.
Lumian motioned for Jenna to continue. Jenna pulled her collar up slightly.
Franca mentioned that he's quite amiable, even with common laborers. Don't be deceived by his appearance. His goal is to make others drop their guard around him. He's cunning and highly intelligent. He enjoys playing mind games with others. Don't provoke him, or Franca won't be able to protect you. He wields significant power. It seems he's adept at fire manipulation and possesses some mystical artifact.
Adept at fire manipulation? A Sequence 7 pyromaniac of the Hunter pathway? No, Franca mentioned that he's incredibly powerful, and Franca is likely a Sequence 7 Witch of the Demoness pathway. If she made such an assessment, it's probable that the boss of the Savoy mob is more than just a Sequence 7. The Poison Spur mob's Black Scorpion, Roger, is the boss with a boon equivalent to a Sequence 7. A heretic spellmaster might not necessarily defeat a witch. Franca could easily be a mob boss herself, yet she willingly becomes this person's mistress. I wonder if she has ulterior motives, or if his strength and background truly surpass Franca's.
Lumian's thoughts raced as he analyzed the situation. Jenna stood up.
You better dress like a man tomorrow. Don't be like Baron Brenier. The boss prefers aggressive subordinates who resemble wolf dogs.
Is that so?
Lumian scoffed.
I'm afraid I'll appear overly aggressive.
Jenna rolled her eyes.
That's right. You saved my life. Yet there are times when I can't help but want to slap you. Anyway, don't go too far.
She reattached her holster to her calf and headed towards the door, yawning openly.
I'm heading back now. Sire won't be able to perform at the Salle de Gristmill for the time being. Why do you still live in such a lousy room?
Although her own accommodations weren't great either, they were still much better than Auberge du Coq d'Oreille. Lumian smirked once again.
This is my turf.
Huh?
Jenna didn't say anything further. She entered the dimly lit corridor and vanished from sight. Lumian freshened up and settled into bed. Thoughts of meeting the boss of the Savoy mob the next day gradually lulled him into sleep. Chapter 174, Reward. At 10:30 in the morning on the following day, Baron Brignier rendezvoused with Lumian on the second floor of Salle de Bal Brise. Lumian had chosen a simple attire for the day, donning a linen shirt, a black waistcoat, and brown trousers. His cuffs were rolled up to his elbows, and he sported a wide-brimmed brown hat. This ensemble lent him an air of casualness, almost uncouth. Baron Brignier observed it for a few moments, but refrained from commenting. Instead, he merely reminded Lumian,
Once we meet the boss, it's best to keep your words to a minimum.
Understood.
Lumian replied, tipping his wide-brimmed hat. Accompanied by Lumian alone, Baron Brignier did not bring Louis and the others. He led Lumian downstairs and directed him towards a four-seater carriage awaiting them at the entrance. Within half an hour, the carriage navigated through Quartier de la Cathédrale Commémorative and halted on a comparably tranquil street. The terrain in this area stood higher than its surroundings. Detached villas, predominantly white, beige, and grayish-blue, dotted the landscape. Each boasted a front lawn and a rear garden enclosed by barbed iron fences. Lumian's gaze scanned the street signs, revealing the name Rue des Fontaines. Following Baron Brignier, Lumian arrived at 11 Rue des Fontaines and watched as the Baron pulled on the rope hanging beside the gated entrance. Before long, a valet of Southern Continent origin approached and opened the iron gates.
Monsieur Martin awaits you in his study.
The dark-skinned valet remarked, his tone laced with arrogance. Without waiting for Baron Brignier and Lumian's response, the valet turned on his heel and strolled along a cement path flanked by 2 green lawns spacious enough for 3 carriages. After crossing the lawns, Lumian and Baron Brignier reached the grayish-white 3-story villa. The villa's door swung open, revealing a man in a black suit and a dark bow tie, typical butler attire, standing in the doorway. Baron Brignier hastened his steps and greeted the man with a smile.
Good morning, Faustino. Good morning, Brignier.
Faustino, a man in his 50s, replied with a smile. Baron Brignier introduced him to Lumian, saying,
This is Monsieur Martin's butler, Monsieur Faustino.
Lumian greeted Faustino in the usual manner, maintaining proper decorum. Faustino nodded and offered no further words. Leading them through a hallway adorned with a resplendent crystal chandelier resembling a dance floor, he guided them into a room lined with bookshelves. Along the way, Lumian surveyed his surroundings, noting an array of oil paintings and an assortment of weapons adorning the walls. Single-handed swords, broadswords, hammers, spears, and short bows. The half-tall wooden platform that ought to have showcased vases and sculptures was instead occupied by silver-white suits of armor, stirrups, breastplates, and other items.
An enthusiast of cold weapons.
Lumian thought, retracting his gaze before entering the study. Behind the desk, positioned beside the floor-to-ceiling windows, stood a man who measured nearly 1.8 meters in height. His hair, typical black as found in Intis, exhibited a few silver strands near his temples. He appeared to be in his early 40s, possessed strong facial features, and his slightly reddened eyes contrasted with his otherwise brown irises. The man possessed full cheeks that contrasted with his sharply defined features. Wrinkles were conspicuously absent from his countenance, and he exuded a relatively amiable temperament. He resembled a businessman who would effortlessly flash a smile before uttering a single word. In that moment, he wore a white shirt and a formal black suit, devoid of a bow tie or necktie.
Good morning, Monsieur Martin.
Baron Brignier's expression turned respectful. After Lumian offered his greetings, Gardener Martin smiled and let out a sigh.
So young, aren't you? I'm beginning to understand Emperor Roselle's words. Heroes often exhibit a different demeanor from others when they are young. Should I address you as Lumian or Ciel?
CL.
Lumian replied respectfully. As Gardner Martin strolled away from the floor-to-ceiling windows, he offered warm praise.
In just a week, you've slain 2 Sequence 8 Beyonders and gravely injured a Sequence 9. I couldn't have achieved such feats at your age. What's your sequence?
Sequence 8 Provoker.
Lumian responded candidly. Gardner Martin expressed great satisfaction with Lumian's frankness. He nodded and remarked,
What I said earlier wasn't quite comprehensive. When I was a Sequence 8, I couldn't have accomplished what you did. Very well. Our Savoy mob could use an exceptional lad like you.
Without waiting for Lumian's reply, he proceeded to ask,
Did you find anything noteworthy on Hammer 8?
This person is aware of the law of Beyonder characteristics conservation. Judging by his demeanor, even if he isn't aware of conservation, he believes that human Beyonders are akin to Beyonder creatures. They manifest Beyonder characteristics upon death, or some residual parts or ingredients that can be employed in potion brewing.
Lumian contemplated for a moment and withheld nothing. From his pocket he produced a fist-sized sphere resembling the morning clouds and the evening sun.
I found this.
Gardner Martin regarded it with approval.
Excellent. Sell it to me. It holds no value for you. How about 18,000 Veril d'Or?
That's considerably higher than the 15,000 Veril d'Or at Mr. K's gathering.
Lumian pretended to be unaware of the exact price of the Beyonder characteristics.
Is it truly worth 18,000 Veril d'Or?
Baron Brignier, standing beside Lumian, couldn't fathom what peculiar object had prompted his boss to offer such a sum.
Something from Hammer 8? An ingredient employed for advancement? Or do Beyonders resemble Beyonder creatures?
Baron Brignier entertained numerous speculations in an instant. He suddenly regretted agreeing to surrender all of Hammer 8's possessions to CL the previous night in order to preserve his dignity.
Ha ha!
Gardner Martin boisterously chuckled.
It is indeed precious, but I'm offering a premium. Consider it your reward.
He then turned to Butler Faustino and instructed,
Go and fetch 18,000 in cash. Avoid denominations that are too large.
Lumian harbored no objections to selling the pugilist Beyonder characteristic to Martin. He had intended to sell it at Mr. K's gathering. His hope was to amass funds to acquire a mystical item capable of countering adverse effects, compensating for his lack of mysticism means or serving as a disguise. Taking the pugilist Beyonder characteristic from CL and toying with it for a few seconds, Gardner Martin addressed Baron Brignier.
Despite CL's tender age, he has already rendered significant services to our Savoy mob and possesses remarkable strength. It is time for him to assume more substantial responsibilities. Yes, you are already burdened with the usury business and the other shops on Avenue du Marché. It is no easy task. Get CL to assist you in managing Salle de Balbrise. Allocate some personnel to support him so he doesn't have to rely solely on himself.
Baron Brignier's facial muscles twitched, ever so slightly. He suppressed his discontent and disappointment and replied,
Very well, Monsieur Martin.
Salle de Balbrise was a veritable goldmine, and he was reluctant to let go of it. If not for Monsieur Martin's direct order, he would have chosen to hand over the Avenue du Marché business to CL and suggested transferring some of the henchmen from Giant Simon and Blood Palm Black. Lumian sensed the strain in his relationship with Baron Brignier. He couldn't deceive him as effortlessly as before. There might even be clashes and conflicts in the future. Gardner Martin turned to Lumian and instructed,
Take good care of Salle de Balbrise. If you perform well, I will entrust you with more significant ventures.
Thank you, Monsieur Martin.
Lumian replied, lowering his head and feigning delight. On the way back to Les Marchés du Quartier du Gentleman, Baron Brignier seemed to regain his composure. He engaged in occasional conversations with Lumian regarding the Savoy mob, displaying politeness, courtesy, and refinement. Lumian was more preoccupied with the small cloth bag brimming with 18,000 Veril d'Or. With that sum, he could acquire a modest apartment in Quartier de l'Observatoire. In the Darriège region, it was akin to owning a villa in a decent neighborhood. Upon entering Salle de Balbrise, Louis and the others approached Lumian. Before they could speak, Baron Brignier drew from his mahogany pipe and announced,
Louis Sarkota, from this day forth, follow Seal. He is now in charge of Salle de Balbris.
Louis, whose forehead bruises had mostly faded, and Sarkota, whose brownish-red hair exhibited slight natural curls, revealed expressions of shock and confusion. They were aware that Ciel would be rewarded, but they never anticipated him taking over Salle de Balbris and themselves being assigned to him. He was now a true leader of the Savoie mob. Ignoring his subordinates' reactions, Baron Brignier smiled at Lumian and stated,
Leave me an office on the second floor. I require it for the usury business.
Very well.
Lumian responded without objection. After a brief handover, Baron Brignier led 2 thugs to address some trouble concerning the usury business. Lumian ascended to the second floor, intending to inquire about Salle de Balbris's operations. Louis leaned in, speaking in a hushed tone.
Seal, boss, Red Boots is in your office. I wonder if she's here for you or the Baron. Would you like to meet her?
Red Boots Franca?
Lumian nodded subtly.
Where is my office?
Louis hurriedly guided his new boss through the cafe and into the corridor on the second floor, reaching a room at the end.
Right here.
He indicated, pointing to the dark red wooden door. Lumian nodded, grasped the handle, and pushed the door open. The first thing that greeted his eyes were a pair of vibrant red boots, elegantly placed on a brown wooden desk. Adorning the boots were a pair of off-white breeches, and higher still, a white blouse for ladies adorned with a multitude of embroidered flowers and vine-like patterns on the cuffs and collar. Over it, she wore a slender black and white checkered vest. Continuing upward, Lumian's gaze fell upon a graceful, smooth neck, followed by lips painted a delicate shade of red, a sharp, refined nose, eyebrows that arched toward the temples, and eyes sparkling with a vibrant, cheerful, lake-like hue completed the picture. Her long, flaxen hair was artfully tied up in a high ponytail. Seated upon a swivel chair that had once belonged to Baron Brignier, Red Boots, Franca nonchalantly rested her feet on the edge of the desk, as if it were her own personal territory. Chapter 175. Hidden Blade. Lumian stepped into the room, shutting the door behind him, the dark red wood closing off the outside world. He turned to Franca and asked,
Are you here to see the Baron or me?
Franca leaned back in the chair, stretching her body. However, the swivel chair tilted slightly, leaving the ground and wobbling uncertainly.
Care to guess why I'm here? For you or him?
Her voice cut through the air, clear and distinct, in stark contrast to her elegant appearance and demeanor.
Gardner initially wanted you to be Brignier's deputy, to see if you were capable of handling more than just fighting. I told him then that Brignier hasn't been very obedient lately.
Lumian nodded, a sudden realization dawning on him. Aurore was right. A comment made in bed could play a significant role. His confusion from earlier, on Rue des Fontaines, began to dissipate. How could the boss be so generous as to take away one of Baron Brignier's most prized property and hand it over to an outsider like him? Salle de Balbris was the most popular dance hall in the entire market district. Initially, Lumian had contemplated mocking Franca's masculine sitting posture, but the thought of her true gender made him reconsider. He clicked his tongue and remarked,
So I should be thanking you?
No need for that. After all, you saved Jenna.
Franca replied, smiling as she shook her right foot on her left ankle.
I came here for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to assure you that I understand the distinction between kindness and animosity. I will surely repay kindness. Second, I wanted to warn you not to harbor any intentions toward Jenna.
The latter half of her sentence carried a clear warning that she would seek revenge for any offense. Lumian couldn't help but chuckle.
Are you lacking confidence? If you manage to make Jenna infatuated with you, nothing I do will change her feelings.
Had Lumian not known about the potential gender transformation through the demoness pathway, he might have taunted Franca, asking if her confidence solely relied on her dick. He might have mocked her insecurity and her need to caution an unrelated individual. What did she think Jenna was? Someone who would easily change her heart? Lumian could almost visualize Jenna treating Franca as a friend rather than a lover. Gradually, Franca's smile faded. She withdrew her feet and rose from her chair. Despite being slightly shorter than Lumian, she stood at an impressive height of almost 1.75 meters, a rarity among Intisian women. Franca circled the desk, drawing closer to Lumian. A smirk formed on her lips as she said,
If you're in need of women, I can introduce you to some of my top dancers. And if they don't catch your fancy, how about me?
As she spoke, she gently hooked her hand around Lumian's chin, lowering it slowly. Lumian's heart remained calm, undisturbed like a still lake. The realization that this woman may have once been a man had extinguished any desire within him. He simply resisted, firmly gripping Franca's right hand and offering a smile.
I'm afraid the boss would have me sleeping with the fishes at the bottom of the Srenzo River.
Changing the topic, Lumian continued.
So you swing both ways, men and women?
Franca withdrew her hand, straightened up, and offered a smile.
I used to fancy girls exclusively, but after giving it a try with a man, I realized it's not half bad. It brings about a different sensation. Life's too short to impose limits upon oneself. Break free from unnecessary restrictions and explore. You'll have more fun and live a truly different life.
It seems as if Franca had indeed been a man in the past.
Is she now a Sequence 7 witch? And why did her last sentence sound so familiar?
In the midst of his pondering, Lumian responded to Franca,
I don't hold any special feelings for Jenna, nor do I intend to. I have far more pressing matters to attend to.
Very well.
Franca strode toward the door. Just as her hand reached for the handle, Lumian's memory was suddenly jogged, and he finally recalled the source of Franca's words. It had been mentioned by Aurore in his dream. She spoke of a member of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society who had contemplated the idea of becoming an assassin and had consumed the corresponding potion. However, at the witch sequence, he found himself in a quandary, unsure whether to undergo a gender transformation. Another member of the society had advised him, saying,
Life is short. Why not give it a try?
It was the very essence of what Franca had condensed into those words. Lumian's heart stirred as he gazed upon Franca's graceful figure. He spoke in a deep, resonant voice.
Life is short. Why not give it a try?
Franca's hand froze on the doorknob, and she stood there as if struck by lightning. After a few seconds, she spun around, locking her gaze with Lumian's, her voice tinged with anxiety.
Who are you? What's your code name?
This reaction. It appears my guess was correct.
Lumian felt a surge of delight followed by a sinking feeling in his heart.
I'm Muggle's brother.
Upon hearing Ciel accurately mention the code name of one of the members of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society, Franca breathed a sigh of relief and said,
I'm not sure if your sister mentioned me, but my code name is Hidden Blade. I belong to the same secret organization as her. No, she must have mentioned me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be familiar with that phrase. Damn it all, what the hell is happening?
Lumian shut his eyes and spoke with a resolute tone.
She never mentioned your code name or identity because I chose the Hunter pathway. When she reminded me about the neighboring Demoness pathway and its potential for gender transformation, she used your experience as an example.
So you do know.
Franca felt a strong urge to disappear into the depths of the sewers. Despite having adapted to her current form and overcoming her self-imposed limitations, her newfound enjoyment with men was contingent upon her previous gender remaining a secret. The notion that Ciel knew about her past as a man and her penchant for intimate relations with men ignited a dangerous thought within her.
The dead can keep secrets. The dead will forget. The dead won't mock me.
After a few seconds, Franca let out a slow exhale and said,
It would be wise for you to forget this. If you weren't Muggle's brother, I would have ensured your permanent disappearance.
At that moment, she projected her true masculine side, casting her gaze toward the future.
Let me enlighten you about the Hunter pathway. It, too, involves a gender change. I paid a steep price to acquire this knowledge. Unlike demonesses, hunters transition from women to men. It likely occurs at sequence 4. When the time comes, I will switch paths, become a hunter, and reclaim my male form.
Is that so? Hunters symbolize males, while demonesses represent females? No wonder they are neighboring paths.
Lumian restrained his emotions and let out a chuckle.
When that time arrives, how will you face the men you were once intimately involved with?
Franca's expression turned smug as she unveiled her well-devised plan.
I will administer them the witch potion. If they are beyonders, unable to transition to the demoness pathway, I will find a way to transform the characteristics of a witch-bounded characteristic into mystical items for them to wear. And then, when the time is ripe, hee-hee.
Madame, you are somewhat deranged.
Lumian dared not further provoke the Red Boots. This individual seemed capable of anything. As he expected, Franca issued a threat.
I'll emphasize once again, it's in your best interest to forget about this matter and refrain from harboring any intentions toward Jenna. Otherwise, I will apprehend you and force the witch potion down your throat. Though Sequence 7 may not grant the ability to switch pathways, it does make one even more dangerous. It might not result in half-crazed madness or loss of control.
Visualizing such a scenario, Lumian hastened to nod and made a solemn pledge.
You are my sister's friend. I will surely keep your secret.
Franca relaxed and inquired about Muggle.
Where is Muggle? Is she also in Trier? Is she strikingly beautiful in reality?
Lumian fell into silence. After a few seconds, he spoke in a hoarse voice.
She passed away. You must have seen the wanted posters. In that calamity, she...
Franca parted her lips, but no words escaped them. She returned to Lumian's side and gently patted his shoulder, offering solace. After a moment, Franca dabbed at the corners of her eyes and spoke.
Ever since I became a woman, it seems my tear ducts have become more active. I can't fathom that Muggle departed from us so suddenly. Whenever we gathered, she exuded gentleness, brilliance, humor, and kindness. Though I've never laid eyes on her true form, I believe she must be incredibly beautiful.
With a regained composure, Lumian gazed at Franca and said,
Madam Hidden Blade, I request that you keep this matter under wraps for the time being. Do not divulge it to other members of your organization. It could impact my investigation into the truth behind the catastrophe.
In a slightly nasal tone, Franca replied,
No problem.
Lumian observed Franca's shimmering eyes resembling tranquil lakes and contemplated before posing his next question.
How many encounters did you have with my sister over the past year?
Only once. Why do you ask?
Franca inquired, puzzled. Lumian continued.
Did she exhibit any peculiar behavior or interact with any unusual individuals?
No.
Franca shook her head.
It was a regular gathering where we exchanged knowledge of mysticism and traded items. We belong to different factions. She's part of the Academy, and I am affiliated with the Sanctuary. Our gatherings rarely coincide.
Lumian refrained from further inquiries. Seeking to gain something from the situation, he spoke with a mindset of extracting information.
Madam Hidden Blade, I am currently studying the grimoire left behind by my sister, but there are numerous sections that elude my understanding. Might I seek your guidance?
Certainly.
Franca disclosed her address.
I reside in the penthouse at 3 Rue des Blues Blanche, room 601. You can find me during Jenna's performances. Every evening, unless I am at Rue des Fontaines or visiting various dance halls, I will be at home. Also, please refrain from using my code name. Just refer to me as Franca.
Why does it feel like we're engaged in a clandestine affair behind Jenna's back?
Lumian criticized inwardly, feeling perplexed. He voiced his puzzlement.
Franca, you possess the backing of that secret organization and you are not lacking in strength yourself. Why did you join the mob?
Franca grinned and playfully winked her left eye.
Secret.
Thank you so much for listening. Creating these audiobooks takes a lot of time and effort, so if you enjoyed this journey, please consider subscribing to support the channel. only a small percentage of our listeners are subscribed, and your support makes a huge difference. If you want to hear more light novels, let me know in the comments below. See you in the next chapter.